Okay, so states were not required to institute primaries. That's just what most did because they found it easier. It's very cut and dry. You walk in, you vote, you leave. That's just basically how it works. There are, though, a number of states that have chosen to maintain, to keep the caucus. Caucuses today are very different than they used to be. They used to be these like closed party meetings, like, where not everybody was allowed to go. Today, a caucus is the same as a primary in the sense that it has the same objective. If you are a registered voter, if you have aligned yourself with that party, either because you've registered or you declare on your caucus day, you get to go and participate. The difference is it's a meeting. So it's not a ballot necessarily. I'm going to show you a video clip. It's about 8 years old, but it's probably one of the best ones I've ever seen in terms of how a caucus works. Now, this is taken from the Iowa caucus. So some of the things that they're going to say are only particular for Iowa. So if you go to Nevada and you live there and you participate in a caucus, it's going to look similar, but everybody has their own rules because remember, state parties and state legislatures are in charge. So you're just going to see an example of a caucus, but this is a really good example, and it's important because obviously Iowa's first. So enjoy.
By now, everyone knows that in a presidential year, Iowans cast the first votes that count. But few outside the state have a handle on how this quirky and complicated system works, except our senior political correspondent, Jeff Greenfield, who knows it well and will explain it to us all.
Well, Katie, this campaign night tomorrow will be the first test of the presidential campaign. But what happens here is no delegates are selected for the national conventions. Instead, this is a popularity contest, in effect, and the two parties do it in radically different ways. Both parties hold caucuses in each of Iowa's 1,781 precincts. They might be in a school, a church, a library, even a home. But that's where the similarity ends.
He's going to lead our nation with conservative principles I'm excited to support.
The Republican process is simple, as this caucus training video shows. You show up at 7 p.m., declare you are a registered Republican. If not, you can register right then and there. And after short speeches by candidates' backers,
just a blank sheet of paper, you simply write down the name, and that's collected, and you're done.
A secret ballot, a straight-up count. The candidate with the most votes wins. A model of simplicity. But the Democrats, not so much.
The registration line is nearing an end.
Democrats show up at 6:30. The doors close at 7. And then, instead of a secret ballot, caucus goers publicly declare their choices by moving into different corners of the room, into presidential preference groups.
And he's got so much enthusiasm out there that it's unbelievable.
There shouldn't even be any more.
As this 2004 caucus in Adair shows, you have to stand up in front of perhaps your boss or spouse and declare your choice. Doesn't that raise the possibility of intimidation?
It is neighbors talking to neighbors about who they're selecting for the nominee. It is free and it is open and you are there on your own volition.
A head count is taken, and, critically, a candidate must achieve a certain level of support, usually 15%, to achieve viability. So if there are 50 people in the room, you must have at least 8 in your corner to be viable. You might think of this as a first step in an elimination round. If your candidate is declared not viable, you can either go home or realign, joining up with a candidate who has survived by moving into another corner of the room.
You know what?
What happens then is something between earnest debate and old-fashioned horse trading, as in 2004 when backers of John Kerry and John Edwards argued and pleaded with backers of Howard Dean to join up with them.
So I think we can sway the Dean people over to the church.
Once realignment is done, a final head count is made, and each precinct awards delegates not to the national conventions, but to the Iowa Democratic County Conventions. Drake University professor Dennis Goldford does his best to explain.
The number of the people in the preference group times the number of delegates that precinct sends to the county convention, divided by the total number of caucus participants in that precinct.
Right. What really matters, what everybody will be talking about, of course, is the final statewide percentages for Clinton, Edwards, Obama, and all the other Democrats.
Meanwhile, Jeff, after all the money, the messages, the media, the endless polls, what do you expect will make a headline out of here?
The unexpected. A measurable win or loss for one of the Democrats, a surge by somebody like John McCain or Fred Thompson, and also the winnowing out. We may see as many as 4 candidates drop out of this race after Iowa.
All right, we'll talk about it more tomorrow night. Jeff Greenfield, thanks so much.
So you heard, in the video clip, you heard a lot of different things mentioned. We're gonna conduct a primary and conduct a caucus, so you can kind of see, like, the ins and outs of how they work. But if you notice, fundamentally, the objective is really the same. If you have a primary, it's systematic. It's private. You go, you cast a ballot, you walk out. You barely have to speak to anyone. If you have a caucus, the difference is it's like a communal meeting, you know? And in the video they showed you how Iowa Democrats and Iowa Republicans do it differently. That's because that's Iowa and how they set it up. You know, in another state, the Republicans and Democrats might do it exactly the same. You might have that the Democrats are more systematic and the Republicans are more, you know, kind of chaotic. So it's all very interesting. They have the same objective. I will tell you that primary participation tends to be higher than caucus participation. The other thing to know, and you might kind of think about why. Like why, I mean, I'm sure you can answer that for yourself. The other thing is that, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, okay, so here's what we're going to do. You guys are going to have an opportunity to go and take a look at some of these candidates, okay? At one point in time, each of these people, we could pretend, like each of these people were running and they were seeking the Republican nomination. Obviously, we know Trump has gotten it. But I wanted to just see what it would be like if we kind of took a step back. So we're going to have a primary election, and these are your possible candidates. We're just going to assume you're all Republicans, and you're going to choose from one of these people. Then we're going to have a caucus, and we're going to do a comparison. So today we're just going to get to the primary. And what you're going to want to do is you are going to go to this website right here. Just type in 2016 republicancandidates.org. You guys can use your devices. And you're going to go there. You're going to be able to see the bios of all of these people. And in a few minutes, Ms. Bennett is going to put a poll up. And you guys are going to have an opportunity to text in a response. So you're going to vote, and you're going to decide which of these people you would choose to vote for. Okay? So the way you do it is you have to go, you respond at polleverywhere.com. If you just want to text it, all you have to do is, this is the number, 37607 is like the number that you put in, and then you want to text this to join that. So you put this in as your message. Once you've joined, you simply are going to indicate with the letter of the person that you want. That's it. And so we'll see who it is that you guys end up choosing as your primary delegate, your primary candidate.